And we are reversing some more redaction here at my studio, undisclosed location in Morehead City. And I'm here with Teagan McKenzie. My name is Judah McNeil. We talked last week mostly about C.S. Lewis, but with some focus on The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the movie, and the book.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're going to focus a little bit more on Harry Potter, the first book, and J.K. Rowling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's pertinent because right now in current events in the media, we see that J.K. Rowling is suing the movie maker. Well, I guess it's the show makers, right?
You looked it up.
Oh yeah, what is she? Who is she actually suing?
She's not suing anyone.
Yeah, she's suing the makers of the new Harry Potter TV adaptation.
Says
But primarily
there is no confirmed information. That
right. So it's not
unverified sources suggesting that she might be considering legal action.
Yeah, she threatened to sue them. I do think she threatened.
Did she? Okay,
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I follow her on Twitter, and
okay.
she has been pretty vocal.
Oh, has she? Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I don't know.
But no, you're right. I mean, I pulled it up right here.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be surrounding the gender adaptations, right? Where they the casting. Of,
it's a race issue.
Yeah.
Something.
Now you brought up that J.K. Rowling is Christian.
Oh, very. Yeah.
Walk me through the history of Harry Potter.
Sure. Well, so the books, long before I was born.
Wow. That makes me old.
No, not that long before I was. No, they were coming out when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. Sorry. So I think everybody knows that when the Harry Potter books were coming out, there was a big evangelical and kind of last judges of fundamentalism. That there were all these issues. Dungeons and Dragons are evil, Harry Potter's evil.
Yeah.
Witchcraft, like all that kind of thing, right? But no, yeah, I mean, even though they weren't received especially well in the United States, and it's worth pointing out that at first, Tolkien and Lewis weren't especially well received by American Christians either. It took American evangelicals a while to warm up to both of them too. But anyway, so even though there was a lot of pushback to the Harry Potter books as they were coming out, Rowling herself is on paper as saying that if anyone has read the Bible, then they could anticipate the end of the series before she finished it. She was working on the 6th or 7th book at the time, right? And it's worth pointing out, just out of the books themselves, right, that there are themes like chivalry, life, resurrection.
Self-sacrifice is one of the biggest themes of the first,
right?
Book.
Right. And in the Dark Night of the Soul moment, in the very last book, Harry and Hermione, two of the main characters, go to a graveyard in order to visit the gravestones of Harry's parents, right? Which also has a lot of Christian overtones, the martyrs, that kind of thing, right? And they see on a gravestone inscribed from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, the saying, "The last enemy to be destroyed is death," right? And Harry doesn't know what it means. And so he asks Hermione to explain it to him, right? And she basically, without saying the words God or Jesus Christ, explains the gospel to Harry at like the crux moment of the last book.
See, that blows me away.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I mean, that would have been good ammo against those who castigated me for liking Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Although I have never been a huge Harry Potter fan. My wife and kids are, for the most part.
Right.
I like fantasy in general.
Sure.
So, and I like magic.
Yeah.
I guess I read the first book, I think, but I definitely saw the movies, and the movies were not. I guess they didn't meet my expectation. The idea of creating a world of magic. I guess I was coming into it. I was having my biggest example of it was J.R.R. Tolkien, who and his movies were just fantastic. Like the trilogy had come out. what's the name of the trilogy?
Lord of the
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, brother.
Sorry, I was thinking
Yeah.
Lion, which
Yeah.
one? Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
But
all these things. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings obviously is going to come up a lot because of the influence. Like,
Oh,
I
right.
think it may have been right, maybe other than the Matrix, one of the biggest money makers for Hollywood as far as fantasy goes.
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, astonishingly, right? And they gave all those Oscars to the third one and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big
Do you
time.
think that's what started all of this glut of fantasy movies? Or
Well, it's an interesting point. I don't know exactly. I mean, I think that the direction that the Harry Potter movies have gone in is they've become millennial cozy core. If you've heard that before.
you brought it up
Right,
before we got on the
okay.
air. What? Tell me about cozy core.
So millennials, this is like a stereotype. I'm not saying this obtains to everyone or even that it can't obtain for people who aren't millennials, right? All that's in play. But it's sort of the stereotype that the millennials' favorite kind of content is right here. I even said content. I didn't say TV show or movie or anything like that. Favorite kind of content is something that you can put on and kind of reabsorb kind of casually, right? So like The Office, Parks and Rec, the Harry Potter movies, right? In video games, Stardew Valley.
But Harry Potter movies they were movies.
Right. But people put them on.
Oh, sort of like this ambient.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah. You would see
okay,
around Christmas time, if you look on Max, the streaming service, the most watched show or movie on Max every single year at Christmas time is the Harry Potter movies shoot back up to the top of the list.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a millennial. They like rewatch them all every single year. Yeah.
Interesting.
I started doing it too. They're pretty good.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
I might too.
Yeah.
So cozy core has to do with just going back to the feels,
The nostalgia of the doing it. Yeah. And that already kind of took off with millennials earlier on because there was the Harry Potter website back in the day. It was a kind of personality test. You could see which house you were in, and all of that stuff. So I really don't know much about what kind of influence the books, the movies were having as they were coming out. Like I say, I was kind of vaguely aware of them, but didn't make too much of it. But it seems to me that they've become massive since then. Right.
Oh, they were massive when they came out.
Were they? Okay.
Oh yeah. I remember I was teaching at a camp or something like that. I was about your I was a little younger than you.
Yeah.
And kids would come bring these huge books to camp.
Right. Yeah. What is that?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. It was Harry Potter. It was the Philosopher's Stone, if I remember. It wasn't.
Yeah.
What was
Sorcerer's Stone.
It was called Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, it's the British title.
Oh, okay.
The American titles, they didn't think that American kids would know what the word philosopher was.
They're probably right.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I think of philosopher as more of an American thing, and sorcerer is more of an English thing, right?
Yeah,
like a sorcerer.
I have no idea.
But so the movies came out, and
then there's been a steady stream of things coming out since then, right? So then you have her going back and making a play that's like a sequel, prequel to the books. You've got all of this expanding content on the website, and of course, you have massive amounts of fan fiction being written on Tumblr and all this stuff, right? So it really kept it alive.
Well, and you mentioned it in the last episode. What was it called? The wolf and the vampire thing.
Twilight.
Twilight is really a fan fiction based off of Harry Potter, wasn't it?
Well, it's pretty well related. So, like the fourth Harry Potter movie, the actor that plays Cedric Diggory, who's supposed to be a heartthrob character.
That's right.
He's the heartthrob love interest for all the Twilight movies, right? So,
but I do believe that the writer Western Myers was reinterpreting the Harry Potter, a story through this like more fantasy romance thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Look that up.
Yeah. Somebody tell us what we're talking about, please.
But that's not the reverse redaction we're getting to. The reverse redaction. Well, one thing, I didn't know she was Christian.
Oh yeah.
Two thing. For the second thing, I think the idea of Christianity in Harry Potter, a sacrifice in particular,
right?
In the first book, is glossed over.
Yes.
And so her spoiler alert in case anybody
Nobody doesn't know the story of Harry Potter, dude. Literally nobody.
I mean,
There are
like,
more people that don't know the story of the Bible than people that don't know the
exactly.
story of Harry Potter.
but so his mother dying, you know,
Yes, right.
her sacrifice for him so that he could
Protects them,
live.
right.
That was not necessary. I mean, that was definitely clearly explained in the
Right.
movie,
Right.
but I guess going back and thinking about it, it wasn't, and this is goes to the criticism I had about the movies for Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. It wasn't reinforced with the visual storytelling. It wasn't
Oh, in the movies?
reinforced. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah.
again, there's this sort of, now they did have you know, cobblestone, some, you know, some of the things were
Right.
cobblestoney, and
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in general, it was a little more glib. And of course,
Yeah.
Chris Columbus is he's a comedy movie
Right.
maker, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
Home Alone and that
Right.
kind of thing, you
Right.
know.
Right. I think that's right. I mean, you know, the really great thing about the first two movies, which are the ones that he did, right, is that they have this unified visual direction, which is very, I mean, cozy is the word for it. I
Cozy
mean,
is a great word
that's
for
how
it.
it comes around to cozy core, right? Because
And I can see why people would want to watch it during the holiday.
there's a Christmas scene in all the
It's
movies.
warm and cozy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the part he gets right is the feeling of the castle and the characters in it and kind of he knows how to shoot the kind of quirky appearances of the various characters that really make the world feel alive, you know?
Well, now that you say it, the sort of Home Alone
Yeah.
is very
Oh,
is
yeah.
very
Oh,
similar
yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
or whatever of
The music.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the music.
The music
That
puts you
sort
there.
of
Oh, yeah.
chandelier type, not chandelier.
Mhm.
What is that?
No,
Sort
I
of,
know what you mean.
yeah,
though.
yeah.
It's a weirder way as to put it. Yeah. The music
Chandelier
is
music.
sort of chandelier. Yeah.
You heard it first. Yeah. So,
It's not real chandelier music unless it comes from the chandelier region of France.
but I think that's good. I think though that that's what turned me off to the movies is
Yeah.
that the reality of suffering was
Yes.
lost in this warm coziness. You
Right.
can't have warm cozy
Right.
and feel the stakes of sacrifice.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, my one big proof for just how Christian these movies are is the point where she puts it into the text. She just puts a Bible verse in there and explain, right? Well, notably when they get to the seventh movies, they don't show that, right? They take it out. And I think that's pretty much what happened with all of them is that a lot of the substance just does not make it in there. You know, I mean, they're making feel good movies that parents could take their kids and teenagers to, right? I mean, that's what they're trying to do. You know, it's actually the thing that I still find appealing about these stories is how shockingly dark a lot of the subject matter is. You know, you don't really notice it as you're watching the movies or reading the books, right? But there are themes
Maybe
like
more of the books you do notice it.
you notice it a little more. Yeah, the movies kind of skirt around it a little more, but it's still there that what the story is about. I mean, the story is about an orphan boy whose parents were murdered by a psychotic, power hungry person who was so powerful he couldn't be stopped, right? I mean, that's terrifying, right? Until the conclusion of the story where he is defeated, right? But where the story starts, I mean, for the whole first story, you don't have any idea that he could be defeated except for this kind of real eucatastrophe that he just disappears and nobody knows why he disappears, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so the sort of saving grace of the story is an entire mystery. I mean, it really is kind of a grace, right? That Voldemort is defeated when Harry is even a boy still, and he doesn't understand why. And then the books leave you in suspense. The central mystery of the stories, and even in the first book, right, is how can Harry, a kind of chosen one figure, be expected to defeat Voldemort, the evil guy, right? When he doesn't, he doesn't have any secret power. He doesn't know how he's supposed to do it, But the theme is stated, and I have not rewatched the movie recently enough to know whether this is in there, but to my memory, I don't think it is. In the book, it's actually stated right there that as they're making the decision, the three main characters to go and try and stop Voldemort, Harry says verbatim, "I don't care if he kills me. I'm not going over to the dark side."
Yeah.
Right. And it's such an odd line that kind of comes out of nowhere because
Mm.
Harry is notably a pretty silent protagonist most of the time. He doesn't do a whole lot of talking, but he kind of gets to the theme stated moment of the book and goes, theme stated, I don't care if he kills me. I'm not going to become evil. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. I wonder what the book's about, you know?
Well,
Resisting darkness, right?
well,
I mean, yeah.
if that had been if that had been brought out more in the movie, it would have been
Yeah.
a much better
Oh,
movie.
much more poignant, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think just the fact that what I'm thinking about is Voldemort. They
Yeah. Yeah.
did actually do a good job. I remember watching it and thinking, this
It's kind of
guy's
scary.
scary.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's sort of there's that sort of the fact that you don't really know what form he's going to take if he's still around, the
Right.
mystery surrounding I did
Mhm.
like that, but there is a disconnect between that and Harry they didn't show enough dread, and he's just a
Mhm.
little bit too like, wow, what is this, what is that?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
maybe more, maybe an actor that could capture, no diss on Daniel Radcliffe, but
Yeah.
I mean, especially as a kid actor, he really just had too much of a
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of like the ominous feel, and they never capture the ominous feelings, the
Yeah.
dread
Yeah.
that this place, there's some, echoes of him
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
More horror movie elements, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I I think I think that is something that movies these days steer away from for kids, but actually
They shouldn't.
they shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, it's that G.K. Chesterton quote that goes around all the time, which is that you don't tell kids fairy tales in order to inform them that there are dragons in the world. He says that children know that there are dragons,
Mm,
that there are horrors and evils and things that they're afraid of, right?
yeah.
You tell children fairy tales in order to inform them that the dragons can be slain, right?
Ah,
That's why we tell these stories to them.
that's good.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, in some ways, Harry Potter does
Right.
have that because the story, and I think J.K. Rowling does a good job of showing that
Hmm.
that evil can be slain,
Hmm.
and there is a very complicated system of what is
Hmm.
evil and what is good, and
Hmm.
hard to tell the in
Hmm.
between. And I like
Oh
that. It's
yeah.
not so Manichean where it's just like
Yeah.
good and bad.
Yeah.
There are gradations. Of course, you see them throughout the
Hmm.
series. You find
Hmm.
out,
Hmm.
spoiler alert, that Snape is actually a good guy the whole
Mhm,
time. You start out
mhm,
thinking that he's the evil guy,
mhm, mhm. Yeah, she does have a pretty complex moral account, actually. I mean, and she's prescient about some things too, right?
maybe,
Well, this is jumping forward again. I'm sorry, it's hard to restrain to just the first,
yeah.
but a lot of the things that she plants these seeds in the first book and picks up on them later on, right? I mean, take like deep classist bigotry. It's like a theme that she just plants the seed in the first book, and then it really, really comes out and becomes a driving force later on.
Mm,
But anyway, one of these things like this is distrust of the press, because that
yeah,
becomes a huge theme in the fourth book, which
yeah.
is that you really can't rely on people who call themselves objective reporters because they're incentivized to sell things. And what do people want to be lied to? And I mean, imagine something more prescient than that, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
I didn't think about that. That is good.
Yeah, there's a rip in here somewhere about Donald Trump calling Rita Skeeter fake news. Yeah, I
Well,
don't know. I haven't thought about it enough, but there's a joke in there somewhere.
it's interesting that they ended up sort of one of the these magical beasts, or what was one of the later ones, and where
Oh,
Johnny,
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find
yeah,
Them. Yeah, I never watched it.
is
I
that
was,
J.K. Rowling? I don't know.
no, I don't know. They might have used some material of what she had pulled together, but I don't think she was involved in the creative process at that point.
But it's the same world, right?
Right, it is. It is. It's supposed to be like a prequel, and
Okay.
it picks up and runs with one of the names of the textbooks,
Ah,
and then tells some kind of prequel stuff that she had alluded to.
Okay.
But it's all stuff that's just alluded to in the main stories.
Because they use Johnny Depp, and he has said, he's
Okay.
quoted as saying that he was playing a type of Trump
Okay.
character.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does bring up the ongoing. So this is where we started, is the way that these, however these things were originally written and whatever they do actually
Yeah.
mean, the way that they have been received has been into a kind of like center left, like I say, millennial cozy core kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and then even became a kind of far left thing. So there's this big fight between Rowling, who is a TERF, transopposed radical feminist or whatever, trans whatever it means. But anyway,
Wait,
so
wait, wait, wait.
do
That's
you know what I'm
where,
talking about?
no.
Oh. So she is very, very opposed to trans issues in the United Kingdom,
Okay, okay,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And
I knew that. Yeah.
recently celebrated some court case in Scotland where,
Oh, trans opposed. Okay,
yeah,
you kind of, but she is. He said she's feminist, but it's like
right,
it's like a trad feminist.
right, yeah. Or as it's been commented on, that it's a kind of mild form of feminism, and what she's opposing is like a really radical form of feminism where the gender distinctions just fall apart completely, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's how it's gone on. So then there are part of her audience that talk about her being very problematic because she doesn't affirm transness and
Yeah,
all
I
this
mean,
stuff, right?
even Ratcliffe and
Right.
Hermione girl, whatever
Yeah,
that
all
is.
the actors have denounced her and all this stuff. And then now they're doing a new show, and they are really they're banking on this millennial audience that loves this, right? So they're making a new show
Yeah.
where instead of being movies, they're redoing the stories. They're doing it as a TV show. So millennials can just turn it on to rewatch it over and over and over again, and they're planting a flag as being like, Rowling is not involved in this. Right. And so they're really consciously stepping into all of those politics and trying to play on the audience. Right.
Well, we'll see. I think that her, threats, or her, I think she is trying to get a little bit more control
Yeah.
of rights and
Yeah.
directorial influence.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to reverse redact,
Hmm.
I'm getting used to this show. If we're going to reverse redact anything out of all of this,
Yeah.
even though I came on strong at the beginning of this discussion talking about how really there are some very Christian themes, even down to the first book, right? Self-sacrifice and moral courage and great-heartedness, all stuff that I'm a big fan of. Um, Rowling herself has been trying to, ever since she finished the books, kind of rewrite them and make them a little more kind of progressive, right? So like the earliest version of this is her trying to rewrite Dumbledore as a gay character,
Really?
where there's nothing explicit about it in the text, but she made statements in kind of the early Twitter years, where she was saying, no, Dumbledore is obviously gay and all this stuff. And so she was seen as kind of a crusader for the progressives back then. But then later on, you get to the 2020s, and the trans issue has popped up, and now she's against that, So there's a whole thing going on there. So my takeaway out of all of that is that I think those roots are even back in the stories themselves. I mean, they're more Christian than a lot of people might assume they are.
Yeah.
But the kind of feminist stuff I think is really already there. Like, for example, the big sport in the book is played by boys and girls co-ed. That's stupid. Like it's really tough. Like, even though they're on magical brooms and all of this stuff, like women are not as physically tough as men are. Look at any sport in the world. I mean, this is the thing we keep replaying with the trans issue, right? Is that just men dominate women in virtually every sport. And there's like a couple where there might be an argument.
But I mean, when you're flying around on a broom,
the heavier you are, the harder you can run into someone.
That is true.
I mean, it's just, and the farther you can throw the thing. And unless you're going to try to spell something out that's not there in the text about like they're magically enhancing the women in order to, okay, well then she believes in the trans thing and the whole thing is pointless. Anyway.
Right.
There's either a difference between men and women or there isn't, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, and another place where the roots of it are already there is the way that the male characters talk to each other.
That is a good thing to bring up. Say more about that, because I think that I unconsciously am annoyed by the whole dialogue. How they talk to each other. But say more about that.
Well, so there's a kind of, between the two main male characters, Harry and Ron, right? there's a kind of cattiness between them as the story goes on that's more reflective of the way that female relationships work, right? And they
Mm.
sort of work it out, and it's supposed to be a sort of moral victory, but it's like that is not how my disagreements with any of my male friends has ever gone, unless he was acting sort of womanish, in which case, which I don't, is only an insult if you apply it to a man. It's not an insult for women to act like women. Obviously, I would love for women to act like women. It makes me very happy anytime I see that, and I would love for men to act like men, right?
Yeah.
But she sort of blends those things, you know, and they
Yeah.
have these like bickering sort of matches, and it's like, no, when guys are mad at each other, they just don't talk about it. It's not like it's no silent treatment. There's just sort of, we're gonna have the argument and then it's over, and usually it comes to blows. I mean, that's the big signal that she doesn't really understand how intra-male conflict works. Is they have this huge fight with each other over the whole fourth book, and they never once punch each other. That's not how that. That's
Well,
it's not true at all.
so it's also like coded into it in the sense that Malfoy is the one who threatens violence,
Yeah.
or has an account. So it's like bad people, violence.
Yeah.
Good people never come to blows. And
Right.
I think there's something
Yeah, that's
broken with
good.
that
That's good.
in the sense that in reality we do work things out, and not that violence is good, but that there's a certain amount of physicality
Oh yeah.
that is normal for young boys,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just to say that the evil guy, that it's
Mhm.
evil to have any kind of
To
physicality.
even entertain violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only way to stop bad, violent people is by stronger, good men.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
And that's the other thing. Yeah. It always felt like they cowered to him,
Yeah.
because they never stood up to him. Never,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
never got
right.
a bigger gun.
Right. Right.
There was something sort of coded into it that
Yeah.
felt just the whole thing had a sense that it was one link away from reality.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was just
yeah.
a
Oh,
link
yeah.
that was missing.
Yeah.
For me at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
Well, you know, all the
In the
stuff,
book as well.
and what's funny about that is that she does get a lot of stuff right on this,
Yeah.
right? So I just want to praise her again for a second, because she doesn't get enough praise from Christian circles in the United States.
Yeah.
Which is that, you know, a lot of what she draws from is from Arthurian romances, which are mostly written by French late medievals about old Arthurian England, right? And there are all of these virtues like chivalry, like great-heartedness, that are really good things that you
What
want.
is great heartedness? That's the second time you said that. Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great heartedness.
Yeah, the more common word for it is a Latin word, and I can read Latin, but I always pronounce it wrong in English, which is why I say great-heartedness. But the more common English word is magnanimity. I always say it wrong. Magnanimity. That's yeah, but it's an A, but you pronounce it like an I. Magnanimity, I think.
Magnanimity.
I always say great-heartedness.
Like
avoid this
being
whole thing.
magnanimous.
Being magnanimous.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Which, so being magnanimous is a virtue in anyone.
Great heartedness.
Yeah, great. But it's a virtue that we should expect from men, right?
Magnanimous.
Yeah. So great-heartedness is when I not only deal with my own problems, but I make other people's problems my problems in a good way, right? You know,
I champion other people's problems.
exactly.
Okay.
So you see this, you know, if you have a son and your son mows your lawn and then recognizes that the elderly lady living next door needs her lawn mowed and just mows it in order to help her, right?
And
That's great-heartedness.
and magnanimous has always been to me also not you do it sort of in secret. Like
Right.
it's not paraded.
Right. Not about winning fame.
No, it's just about secretly helping other people.
That's right. It's about making the world better because you want the world to be better.
But also, I also magnanimous. I think it doesn't it sort of mean like not when somebody is mean to you, you don't retaliate.
Right. Yeah, because what's wrong with them, you're just taking it in and you're going, you know, and if you can, there's another virtue that's more central to a situation like that, which is perseverance or long suffering, right? That you don't, and this is a specifically Christian virtue, which is that if there's someone threatening you, you just accept it.
Would that be meekness as well?
Meekness. Right.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
That's right.
Meekness. Yeah.
So if someone threatens me, I just accept it. Right. But if someone threatens you, then great-heartedness, I try to stop it. right? That's the difference. So you know, with your family, right? A
Yeah.
father should protect every member of the family, right? But if someone threatens danger to him, he should only try to escape the danger in as much as it might prevent him from doing his duty to his family,
Interesting.
right? Not because he's afraid of death,
Yeah.
because being afraid of death is the defeat of Christianity in personal piety. So
Yeah, and that is the one of the big themes in Harry Potter.
exactly, exactly. And so, like I say, she gets all of this right.
Mm.
You know, she gets a lot of these things. So, like the central virtue that Harry has to learn is great-heartedness, to take everyone else's problems and make them his problem because they're coming from Voldemort, and Voldemort is really his duty to take care of.
I think that is my core problem with it. And it comes
Oh,
back
yeah.
to what you're talking about with the bickering, is
Yeah.
that there is Harry never, I guess not until the end, especially in the first movie, doesn't show enough
Grit,
manliness,
gun ho. Yeah. Well,
something.
no, it's not
Yeah.
there. It's not there, right? She doesn't know.
It's like courage. It's a certain kind of courage that doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, greatness, but
Yeah.
also like it's just it's
Yeah.
machismo, maleness,
Yeah.
masculine
Right.
sort of domination.
Right.
You know,
Well, to go back to our Lewis episode, go back and watch it. Lewis is a word for this that he invents, called, and he calls it Donegality.
Donegality.
Yeah, and it's come from Donegal, which was a real place that he went that just made him think of this. So I don't actually know if there's another word for it, but this is Lewis's word for it. That
Okay.
uses Donegality, which is where you include in a story very the actual real elements of something that you're describing, right? So his point would be, you know, you can tell me, you can write a book about, I'm from Kentucky.
Okay.
You can write a book about Kentucky
Okay.
and put in all of this detail, right? But if it's not the real details about Kentucky, then it's going to mean nothing to me, right?
It's not going to resonate.
It's not going to resonate, right? Donegality is when you include these real things so that they resonate with people, right? And so she's aiming at these virtues that she's reading about in these old Arthurian chivalric romances, right? And she knows where she wants to go, but in the fine particulars, she doesn't understand how men actually arrive at these things. There is a certain amount of conflict that has to happen between male friends in conversation or otherwise in order to arrive at the kind of masculine virtues that we all need from men, right? And without that the way that actual male relationship plays out in a very real way, that it's sort of unreal to someone who has actually experienced that whenever Harry produces these very masculine virtues that we should want him to have. He just hasn't arrived at them in a way that any man in real life would actually arrive at them. And so, like I say,
So they don't feel real.
So they don't feel real. It feels unearned, right? To anyone who really knows what they're reading. Yeah.
And I think that comes back. That's actually a common theme, has been throughout reverse redaction, is unearned. There is so one of the things we talked about, or way in the past, is the rules of the rules for writing set forth by the name escapes me. Who are the ones that do like Toy Story and stuff like that?
Oh, Pixar.
Yeah. So the writers of Pixar,
This show has so much legacy and lore to it. I have no idea.
well, one of the rules is you can get into trouble through coincidence, but you can't get out of it without working through it. Like if you so one of the big faux pas is getting out of trouble through coincidence. Like you just, plot armor. And earning, being able to earn certain things and seeing that earning it, I think that is an important thing for writing. And particularly in movies and movies like this. And so anyway, we've got over time, but I think one thing I'd like to talk to you about in a future episode is magic.
Oh man. Okay.
I'd love to
let's talk about that.
confront a future Anglican priest here on magic and its place in life. But
okay.
Or not. But
that sounds like fun.
We'll save that for another day. Maybe next week. Actually, let's do it next week.
Okay. Okay. That means we're doing it right now, right?
Whatever. So Thank you guys for tuning in. What do we take away from this? What we got to play the little so what?
We got to play it. Jamie?
So what?
So what? So stupid.
Well,
So-
I'll just say it again because we did get distracted in other
Yeah.
lines there. But as I look back at the stories, the thing I take away from them is that, you know, Rowling really does grasp in the abstract a lot of really good masculine virtues that Harry is going after.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that part about those books, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is that she really lacks the feeling, you know, of how those things really come about. And so, you know, where does that lead people in terms of interacting with the books or the movies or that sort of thing? You know, I don't know. Use your own judgment. I think it's better to be reading than looking at Twitter or, you know, doing a lot of other things. And so maybe there's something there. But pick up Tolkien or Lindsay or Lewis before you pick up Rowling. I mean, you know, and this is a little bit more of a
Who's Lindsay?
David Lindsay, Voyage to Arcturus.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, he's Lewis really liked it, and
Ah.
and Lindsay said of himself that he would earn one fan a year.
Oh yes.
So,
Oh you
yeah,
told me about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, you know, something like that, or even the stories of the Bible, which are really excellent and saint stories. I mean, there's all kinds of great stories. You know, we are not lacking for content
Right.
nowadays. You know, but the other thing, and like I say, this is more of a meta point that I take away from it, is that sometimes there are people who are trying to win kind of bro points by bashing on the feminism that they correctly perceive in Rowling in her work, right? But what I'll say about that is that we earn nothing by being dishonest about the actual positive qualities that the work has, right? I mean, you know, maybe we can earn based points or whatever for being like, oh, Harry Potter, that millennial non-binary female trash, right? Like you can sell that stuff, but I just think it really obviously does have some virtues. And you know, isn't it the nature of sin that the worst sins are the things that that corrupt the greatest goods, right? Not the things that are most obviously evil on their own, but you know, the most inauspicious, the most difficult or sneaky sins,
Sinister.
right? Sinister, right? Yeah, are the things that kind of take down something that without that one thing really would have been great.
Yeah.
And so I think we should reflect accurately on these stories, and that will help us understand better their place in our society and why they can appeal to so many people without leading them into the truth that they should be able to lead them into without the problems. You know, if they didn't have the problems that were outlined.
Yeah. I think that's good. Not throwing out the bath with the baby water, but also
yeah, however that goes.
yeah, throwing out the baby with the bath water.
There you go.
It's not that.
I love
perfect.
baby water. I go there every year.
But yeah, looking for the good, and but I think, but also being that we need to be judicious,
Discerning.
and discerning. That's
You
the
know,
word.
that's right. Discerning. Yeah. And the best criticism can only come from a place of some kind of love, right? Our God is love. Right?
But I mean, that's what, and being magnanimous, right? Taking
right.
up other people's, champion other people's problems.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah. I mean, there's a teaching point there too. You know, you talk to somebody who really loves the Harry Potter books, then and you're trying to lead them into some kind of greater truth, then pull from the good things that are actually there. You know, I mean, talk about how Harry needs to learn to overcome his fear of death, right? I mean, that is a theme that resonates, you know, and then you can kind of clean up all of the stuff about male companionship that she gets wrong later on. But if it's someone who's failing to even believe the basic truths about reality, then use what's there, you know? I mean, what Gregory of Nyssa had that line about Greek philosophy being used in the church. And he compared it to the Egyptian gold, right? That's taken by the Israelites whenever they flee Egypt. And he goes, look, was it used to worship pagan gods yesterday? Sure. Are we going to use it to worship the God of the Bible today? We sure are.
That's good.
That was too punchy to end on. I'm sorry. We'll do another episode on that later.
You know what just came to me right before you said that, though?
Yeah.
I want to say before I forget it.
Yeah.
You said that Harry Potter's afraid of dying. You know what I would have really liked?
No.
Have you ever seen What About Bob?
No.
Oh, never mind.
I'm sorry.
Never mind.
I'm sorry. I ruined it.
Cancel everything.
Delete the episode. Can you delete that?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you probably next week.
We'll see you.
And we'll be talking about magic.
Oh, boy.